What's up, guys? I'm Mike from StockedUp, and welcome back to the Stocks with Mike and Tom show. We have another pretty good episode for you guys today. In this episode, we have a very interesting option that we're eyeing for this week. There was about $40 million put into this option on Friday, and we're going to be analyzing that in this video, as well as going over all the important news and information that happened in the market last week. So we have a pretty interesting episode for you guys here today. If you guys want to join our free Discord group, it's the first link in the description down below. Tom and I post completely free day trades every single morning, and you can network with about 11,000 other members. And then if you guys want to see our daily videos on your YouTube homepage each day, don't forget to subscribe. But with that being said, Tom, what happened over the weekend?
The big news this weekend is the earnings coming out this week, and the biggest one is NIO, and everybody's been talking about NIO and how big that they've been running up recently. And you can see that on Friday they ran up initially in the morning, but then they really fell off at the end of the day and ended up coming down all the way down to around $42, and in after hours they ended up at around $43.50. So that's a pretty big drop, but there's a lot of interesting earnings coming out this week. We have JD on Monday, as well as on Tuesday we have Walmart, Home Depot, and then NIO after close Tuesday. And on Wednesday we have Target and NVDA, Lowe's, TJX. Thursday, we have Intuit and Macy's, and then Friday we have Hibbett Sports, Foot Locker, and Buckle. This is very interesting. There's a lot of retail stuff coming out this week, and I just think it's going to be a pretty big week, especially with NVDA and NIO. Those are two of the biggest watch stocks right now, most traded stocks, and obviously NVDA is one of the biggest tech stocks, and NIO is the electric vehicle stock.
I think there's going to be so many people watching NIO. Like, NIO has been in like all that major headlines recently. Everyone's talking about this stock. There's a ton of hype behind it. You know, it's an electric vehicle stock, which obviously has a lot of hype in that industry this year. And I just think there's going to be a lot of people watching NIO. They broke $54 on Friday, but like you said, they ended up coming down. So I don't know. Just be careful with earnings. There's so much volatility, and I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a drop. You know, last week everyone was saying NIO is going to hit $70 by this week. It's going to hit $60. It's just going to keep going up and up and up. But as we all know, there had to be a time when, you know, the momentum starts to go the other way, and I think that's what we might see this week. We'll talk about it more later in the episode, though.
Yeah, and Friday was actually one of the most volatile days on NIO ever since IPO, and it's actually the most volatile candle, and you can see how large that is. So maybe this will actually be forecasting a swing to the downside.
True. What other news happened over the weekend?
Yeah, we're actually going to be having some stuff coming out this week with retail sales on 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time on Tuesday. On Wednesday, we're going to be having building permits at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. And then on Thursday, this is going to be more of the interesting day, that we're going to have initial plus continuous jobless claims at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time and existing home sales at 10 a.m. Eastern. So there's a few pretty big things coming out there. Initial continuous jobless claims, those are pretty big, as it shows a lot of people who are out of work right now. And then also existing home sales on Thursday, that's also a pretty big number, and it'll definitely influence the housing market a little bit.
True. And then what news happened with Walmart?
Yeah, Walmart's actually going to resume counting their customers and limiting how many rolls of toilet paper you can purchase in the store as coronavirus surges. So you can see that Walmart right now is almost at all-time highs, but with them having to start counting customers and reinstating limits on toilet paper and possibly food again, if it comes to that. And they also have earnings coming up this week. So Walmart just has a lot of news right now, and it's pretty scary to see that they're going to have to start limiting toilet paper and stuff again, which means that these big companies are kind of forecasting another lockdown like we saw last year, and then also maybe another shortage in supplies or goods.
Yeah, that's very interesting. We've been seeing some news about another potential shutdown, and we've even been seeing some cities like increase restrictions and like stay-at-home orders and things like that. So I just have this news in the back of my head. Just interesting to see how they're doing that. And then what happened with Apple?
Yeah, Apple supplier Foxconn, investing.com reports that Apple supplier Foxconn forecasts strong demand for the new iPhone 12. And let's go to Apple's chart, which is AAPL, and you can see that they're doing pretty well considering how much that they've been up and that they had a split. And the thing is that they're forecasting strong demand for the new iPhone 12 in the holiday quarter and stress that it would continue investing in the United States as scheduled and is looking at making new products in the US. They also updated the MacBook, and Apple has split in the past, but it seems that they keep innovating and growing, and Apple may be a good play through the holiday season. And, I'd have to agree with that. And, we can really see that Apple had a split, and they also split like in 2013 or 2014, I believe. And, obviously Apple's one of those huge growth companies, and it just keep going up, and they're a huge innovator. And I really like, the new iPhone 12 and the updates to the MacBook, and I think that it'll really help them continue in the long term.
Awesome. So now let's get into our member of the day. And today's member of the day is Nug Life. So this person actually had a pretty solid trade on Friday. So he posted a screenshot of NIO puts, and this was actually one of the day trades on Friday, Tom. So he posted, he looks like he exited half at plus 54%, and the remaining half at around 88% profits on his NIO put. So like I said, it was actually one of the free day trades on Friday. So amazing job to Nug Life for this great trade, and also for just helping us out in the Discord and being pretty positive. So shout out to Nug Life. And then if you guys want to get the Discord trades like this NIO trade, you can click the first link in the description down below. It's completely free. Day trades every single morning about 15 minutes before open.
Yeah,
Right.
you can't beat these trades, guys. I mean, like Mike called this out, and if NIO fell below $50, he said to get puts, and you could see as soon as NIO fell below $50 on Friday, they fell immediately, almost all the way down to $45. That's a 5 point drop. So, guys, get into these day trades. They don't always work out like this, but generally at least one of them does. So it's a really good thing to watch in the morning, and these stocks are pretty volatile too.
Yeah, like Tom said, they don't all work out like this. Like NIO is a home run, but like both Tom and I, we both post one day trade in the morning, and normally at least one of them ends up being a pretty solid trade. So check it out, and let's get into the rest of the video. So for the momentum plays for tomorrow, the first one is Boeing, BA.
Yeah, Boeing. This one's going to be to the upside and make them break above 188.
All right, and with the next one we have MGM.
MGM Casino. Make them pop above $26, and they close very strong on Friday.
Yep, and then last but not least, we have Cisco, CSCO.
Cisco. This one's pretty strong also. I would make them actually break above 41.70.
All right. All right, so now let's get into our $40 million options trade for this week. And this one, Tom, it's interesting. So we're looking at NIO. It's the 50 strike call options that expire this Friday, November 20th. So NIO is probably one of the most volatile stocks right now. But then on top of that, there's $40 million put into this option. And then on top of that, it has earnings this week. So this is quite the setup we have here. I mean, looking at NIO, I mean, the implied volatility is almost 150%. So with that being said, I just don't see the smart money longing this option that's $6 out of the money, and it's a weekly option, and there's earnings unless they know just some crazy information that's going to make this stock literally explode. But especially with earnings, I mean, it's so hard to see them longing this option. I think they're shorting it.
Yeah, and I think that with all the volume that came into NIO on Friday, I think that was a ton of people taking profits up there at the top on NIO. And I think that that's why they had that huge sell-off that they had, was because a lot of people really took profits. And I think that this option is just following in that trend to the downside, just like you said. And I would think that they are definitely shorting them, especially with earnings coming up.
True. And then another thing is, I actually heard a lot of short sellers are actually getting in NIO or are already in. So I know there's a couple articles that came out, but there's a lot of hype around the stock, and just because it's up so much, that doesn't necessarily mean that we think it's gonna tank down to $20 next week, but I think it's definitely due for a pullback. I think it as of right now it's setting up to be a good long-term stock, but in the short term, I just think it's way too overextended.
Yeah, definitely. And I really like how on Monday morning that, or I mean on Friday morning, that volume came in the beginning of the day, and you can see that just like every other day, it had that big volume at open, and then as soon as that red started coming into the market, you can see that volume really picked up. I think whenever people started selling out of their long positions.
I mean, it kind of reminds me like Tesla, like they had such a huge run up, and then once earnings hit, that's when they fell. So I think ideally, like if we can see a nice fall this week, maybe even falling on earnings, and then I think that might be a good opportunity to enter in this stock for the long term. But that's only if it falls, and there's a lot of variables. So just be careful with earnings. I know there's a lot of hype around the stock, and you're going to see people saying NIO is going to go to $60 or $70, and it might in the long term, but in the short term, there's just way too much hype. Like we had people commenting on last week's video saying like NIO is going to reach like $65 by the end of last week, and there's just too much hype, so don't get too caught up in that. And remember, even if they report great earnings, they can still fall. So now let's get into our questions from the previous episode. And with the first question, we have Lee saying, "Hey Mike and Tom, what are your thoughts on ZM?"
Zoom, yeah. I mean, I really like Zoom, especially if we have to start shutting down with the coronavirus again. I think that Zoom could start popping back up. If we go to the daily chart, you can see how much Zoom was running whenever the virus was getting worse, and now the virus is starting to pick back up. So maybe their stock will start to pop back, and I really like the bounce off the 100 SMA on the daily chart. But just keep in mind that this is very volatile; it could easily fall back down below that. And just given what they do, you never know what's going to happen. But I think that if we do start locking down again, I think that Zoom will get a lot more business once again.
Absolutely. And then with the next question, we have we have Cena saying, "I think NIO is overvalued. Also, which stocks would you buy in a stock crash?" So, Tom, you actually replied to this one. You were saying Triple M, KO, and AMD, right?
Yeah, those are my three that I would buy. Those are pretty safe, I think, for the long term. That's a pretty safe setup. You can go with a riskier, more growth setup than that, but I think those are three pretty safe stocks.
Yeah, I was gonna get a mix of the S&P 500. I would actually get a good amount of tech stocks in the Nasdaq and a little bit of the Dow, and then I'd also grab a little bit of DraftKings, and then depending on the market, like maybe some bank stocks, but it just depends on the market. But I think DraftKings is setting up pretty good right now, just with everything they have going on. I mean, they're showing a lot of potential in my eyes.
Yeah, and definitely, and we can't forget SPCE, Mike. I mean, look at what they did on Friday. They ran all the way up to 23 in after hours.
They're creeping up there. With the next question, we have Markin saying, "You guys are doing a wonderful job despite the volatility and the elections. Can you please give me an idea with LI and NIO for next week or Monday?" So thank you so much for that great comment. So Tom, this LI has actually been creeping up there a little bit with NIO. What are you seeing?
Yeah, this was actually a crazy move that LI had on Friday in after hours with their earnings and in pre-market and everything. And you can see that they swung up around 30%, and then whenever market opened, they swung all the way back down like 25%. So they didn't really end up too much. And it's just so crazy electric vehicle stock once again. And man, it's so volatile. I just don't see them really flying up as much anymore as they have been.
I mean, who knows? It depends a lot on the overall industry with like the electric vehicles and things like that. Like, I can definitely see NIO continuing up in the future. I just think in the short term, there's just way too much hype behind it, and especially with earnings. I think if we see like a really nice fall, I think that would give a pretty good opportunity, because LI and NIO, like they're obviously not like one-to-one correlated, but they kind of move together. So we'll see what happens. I think a lot of it just depends on that EV industry overall.
Yeah, definitely.
With the next question, we have Joshua O saying, "Great update. What about Tesla? What are you seeing, Tom?"
Yeah, I mean, Tesla, they look pretty good long term, and hopefully that they don't start falling out of this like small like wedge pattern that they're in. Let me go ahead and draw it. We can see I just kind of drew it. If they fall out of this trend, I would honestly, I wouldn't expect them. I would expect them to fall down maybe to like the 300 level, maybe 350 as a good support. But I really like Tesla for the long term, though, kind of like NIO. And I think that Tesla is a way better investment than NIO in my own opinion. But I think that you might not see as much growth with them. But I think that they're a safer electric vehicle stock to get into. And a big thing is like, you don't see any NIOs on the road, but you see tons of Teslas on the road.
True. Like I know they are mainly focused like in China, so that could definitely be another factor. But we will see. And then with the last question, we have Rich saying, "Let's be real. NIO is hyped too much. People are pricing in God numbers, and earnings will drop NIO down 15% at minimum. Bet your bottom dollar on that put. What they slack, I stack." So, I mean, I don't disagree with you, but the only thing that I get a little cautious about is playing the puts on the earnings. Like if they fall, obviously the puts can be great, but keep in mind that their implied volatility is 150%. So while they are pricing in God numbers on earnings, they're also pricing in God numbers in terms of movement. Like I'm looking at this NIO options chain for the weekly options, literally the options that expire this Friday, and they are pricing in over a $10.50 move right now. So that's a pretty big move on a $44 or a $45 stock. Like that's a pretty big move. So just be careful because like, for example, like if NIO doesn't move too much with earnings, calls and puts are going to get killed. So just be careful with earnings. A lot of times, especially when the implied volatility is so high, both calls and puts can fall in value, but it depends on the situation. Like Tesla,
and something else we'll see is like maybe pre-market movement, and then it might come down as soon as the market opens, and it'll just crush everything.
True, yeah, like Tesla, like this was like the exact scenario. I don't remember if it was earnings or battery day or the split or something. I think it was earnings though. They had a move, like for example, like Tesla moved, it might have been they moved up on earnings, and then by the time the market opened, they were like flat, so that way the calls and the puts lost like 80% in value. Like it was something crazy.
Here it is, I found it. Yeah. There it is. So yeah, you can see they closed right here. They ran up, and then as the second the market opened, they pretty much just fell right back down.
Yes, yep, that's exactly it. So just be careful of something like that. Like even if NIO falls and then comes up, it could be the same scenario. But in these scenarios, literally everyone loses who longed an option. Like unless you had like a credit spread or you were shorting options, then you're the winner. But especially when like the implied volatility is so high, like what Tom is pointing out actually happens a lot. So be careful.
Yeah, it fell 10% right there. So that's a huge drop.
Yeah. 10% in implied volatility, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So definitely pretty significant. So Tom, do you have any last minute stocks, options, or any insight for the market for the rest of this week?
The big thing I'm really watching right now is the SPY. I mean, it seems like that they hit all-time highs last week, and that was awesome to see, and it looks like they're starting to creep back up at the end of the day on Friday. And also, there's just a lot of stocks that close very strong Friday. So I would not be surprised if futures open up pretty strong tonight, and we can see how much the futures have been running up as well. And also, I just wanted to point out, kind of like we said earlier, SPCE is starting to kind of run up again. So that's just another low valued stock that you might watch. And I'm not saying to get in this for the long term or anything right now, but it might be good to play some calls on this, very quick day trades in and out.
Awesome. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you guys want to trade the same options that Tom and I trade every single day and get access to the machine learning bot, you can click the Stocked Up Options Alerts link in the description down below. If you guys want to join our free Discord group, it's the first link in the description down below. We post free day trades every single morning about 15 minutes before open. And then if you guys have any questions, let us know in the comments down below. But other than that, thanks for watching.